So with all the discourse that's going on with the TikTok ban, our government, people going to Red Note, seeing and opening our eyes to, you know, the fairy tale, the propaganda, the U.S. propaganda machine that we've been fed since the Cold War. I love the discourse that's going on, right? And it just shows that our corporate overlord billionaires and all these CEOs and people like Mark Zuckerberg, Reptilian, and Elon, they're not as smart as people lead them to or portray them to be. They're not, because they literally used our government, politicians, and officials to try to ban an app that's their competition. And straight up, instead of just like, how do you pay smart people to put them in a room and come up with a plan and say, yeah, we're gonna ban TikTok unless you sell us the algorithm, because it's a national security threat unless you sell it to us, right? Unless you sell it to us. Like, how could you put a bunch of people in a room that's supposed to be so much smarter, richer, elite, all this, and that's the ploy? Like, you would tell on yourselves and be like, either you're that dumb or you're that arrogant. Honestly, I think it's a combination of both. And literally push people to an app to do exactly what you claim you were banning TikTok from. They can't be this smart, or they think we're that stupid. And after this past election cycle, I mean, were they wrong? But people love their cat videos more than their government. Despite all the shit we're going through, hey, as long as I can sit back and watch some bullshit and laugh, I'll let y'all slide. But they overplayed their hand. And now people are exposed to the propaganda. You are literally seeing the lie in your face. We're on Red Note, and like someone like myself that was able to travel young and realize the bullshit early, grew up in the South, had to get away, turn around and went to the military, went overseas, and my eyes were open the day that I stepped foot into Israel. That's when it really, and I toured Jerusalem and I saw the lie in my face. That is what, back in 2012, that's when I woke up. When I went to Syria, when we went to Jordan, when we went to Yemen, all those countries and areas where they say, oh, people bad people, America great. And you're exposed to cultures and people and ethnicities and traditions and things, and you realize, the fuck am I, like, what have I been told? See, some people are finally getting a dose of that through Red Note. You've been fed the Cold War propaganda, Chinese bad, blah blah blah. They're the enemy. They're poor. Their economy's bad. Their infrastructure is shitty. It's cheap. Blah blah blah. Just to find out, it's the opposite. They getting groceries for the low. They got electric cars that are affordable, $15,000 for that pink Dolphin car, but has more features and technology than a fucking $70,000 Tesla X. Their people aren't living in the slums. Their cities are just 10 times more advanced than ours. Their infrastructure, their streets are clean. And you got us talking and learning their language, and they're not bad, they're nice, and we're exchanging information, and we're learning. I had to put my phone up because this is where the history lesson comes into play. So I had to put my phone down because here comes the history lesson. See, America is new at this shit, right? We was the young guns that just got hot because of our flashy athleticism, right? China has been around for centuries. They're not new to this shit. Look at the 1,000-year strategy, right? To ensure that China remains in place or can withstand and remain a prominent power throughout the changes and cycles of history, right? Then look at the 100-year strategy to displace America as number one from China. It started in 1949. That's when they adopted that plan. So the goal is basically around 2050, right? And they knew coming out of World War II that they could not challenge America militaristically out the gate and take them down with force. It had to be from the inside, basically. Let it eat itself alive. And boy, are we doing that. Because now that we see that our corporate oligarchs are essentially making that the American president can become a king. He can become a dictator. So because that FDR was the one, he saw where things were going because he was known as the man of the people, right? He saw that he could have stayed president and won presidency forever, because he was the one that established social programs and things of that nature. He got us out of depression. You know what I'm saying? He was known as the man of the people. But he saw that and established term limits because, that's why we fought to get the Revolutionary War, right? Because we didn't want kings. We wanted democracy. And he saw where it could go, so he did that. But the elite at that time did not like that, did not like the taxes that was placed on them, did not like the fact that there were regulations placed on them, did not like where it was going because it was going to stop their paper. Where do you think all the so you go back to Germany, right? During that era, after we beat them in World War II, what do you think happened to all those scientists? What do you think happened to all those researchers and people that came up with the systems in Germany? It was like fucking NBA free agency. They went to the highest bidder. And who do you think bought a lot of them? That is why I say the Cold War is so important, because it was the birthing of what we know American propaganda to be is today. There's no free economy in here. It's nothing but monopolies. There's no free market in America anymore, because if it was, we'd have Huawei phones. We would have the Chinese EVs. You know what I'm saying? Why do you think our products are so shit now? Everything's going to shit because there's no competition, because our corporate overlords have monopolies on everything. Or if they can't beat you and they can't buy you out, they'll use our politicians to get rid of you. Because our politicians are in the hamster wheel just like us. They're just in a bigger tax bracket. You think those shows like Scandal are just made up, where these politicians get involved in dirty shit and they can buy them or blackmail them? But that's a part of the 100-year strategy. Let America implode upon itself through its greed, right? It's greed, because we're on the cusp of imploding. We're right there. That's why BRICS has everybody's laughing like, oh, it's not America. Yes, but you look at the countries that they brought on, right? They're countries that have resources. So when America inevitably implodes upon itself due to our corporate greed and overlords and mismanagement, because they can't even manage their companies, that's why they claim bankruptcy and let our tax dollars bail them out all the fucking time. But y'all are entrusting them to run our country right now, because that's all the look at the Secretary of Defense fucking hearing. Like, come on, bro. We got Vince McMahon's wife as the Department of Education head. Trump and his fucking homies. So when we inevitably implode upon ourselves and we have no allies, we have no resources, and BRICS has swallowed up all of the people and the countries who have the resources and the quote unquote cheap labor, we're gonna be left assed out on the transition of what comes next after our implosion. And everybody talks about, well, we have the military, we go to. You need money and you need resources to fund wars. If you don't have those, you can't win. China's strategy has always been the long game, has always been to become the friends of the East, so to be, the global East. And now as we shift to the big bad boogeyman on the global front, they look like, oh, we're the friends. We're nice, right? But if you stayed this long, I'll leave you with this clip.
The first sign an empire is failing is when its people question the institutions the empire was built on. The structure of government, the churches, the schools. They reject God because the emperors begin believing they are God. And the people become so rich, everyone believes they are an emperor as well. And too good to do the jobs that built the empire in the first place. So they outsource those jobs. And they open their borders to allow people desperate to do all the other jobs the other people are too rich to do. Then comes the guilt for all this wealth. But still, the empire thrives. But now everyone questions their wealth. Then they question themselves. And then they reject everything that built the empire to begin with. They destroy their own symbols, attack themselves like a cancer, attack the people who protect the empire, attack you for protecting it. Then the wolves come. And all the people who lived like emperors, with all the suffering they blame themselves for creating. and they will be slaughtered.